Up till now, the majority of the formulas that we have learned, if not all of them, are the exact same formulas if you were to transfer over to Excel, such as the VLOOKUP, the count ifs, the sum ifs, the sort in. All of those can be used on Excel. Next, I'm going to show you a couple of formulas that are unique specifically to Google Sheets. Ones that I use every so often, and you might find a place for them as well. And the first one I'm going to show you is an import HTML. Import HTML is basically pulling information directly off of the internet. So if you're in any of my ag econ classes and you have done the extra credit, you will have seen this web page at some point in time while it's loading. And now that we have the web page loaded, this is the Wall Street Journal commodities page dealing with live cattle. So in my ag econ class, I ask you to go find the opening price for those cattle every single day. Well, some of y'all may not know this and some of you might. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom, it shows the historical prices for the last 5 days. And this is in a table format. It's set up and it looks like a table. So what we're going to do is we are going to put in a formula back in our Google Sheets that is actually going to pull this table right here and all of its components directly into the Google Sheets to where it's kind of in an easier to find manner. Because let's face it, going onto this web page, this live cattle futures, you have to go through the Wall Street Journal's commodities page. Then you have to click on live cattle, scroll all the way down to the bottom. Can be a pain in the butt, takes a little bit of time, especially with slow internet. So what if there's a formula to where we take that table off of that web page and put it directly into Google, into these Google Sheets, to where maybe all 5 of the commodities that I ask are right there in a easy to find manner. Well, the way that we do that is through this import HTML formula. So I'm going to say equals import HTML, open parenthesis. So this import HTML, as it says, it imports data from a table or list within an HTML page, which is what we're trying to do. And what HTML page is basically just a web page. That's all that's really saying. It's nothing fancy there. It's what this is saying is we are going to import data from a table within a web page. So we are going to first and foremost type in the URL. So we come right here. We're going to highlight this whole URL, this whole web page link. So I am just going to right click, say copy. Come right here, open quotation. Now it does tell you kind of how to do this. We're going to do open quotation. We're going to paste that right there. Close quotation. Next, it asks us, do we want to enter in either a table or a list? Well, in this case, we're going to be dealing with a table. So if you look back at that web page, this right here looks like a table. It's a table. So we're going to go ahead and type in table. Now the next part is it's asking index, starting at 1, which identifies which table or list as defined in the HTML source should be returned. Basically, that's saying is there are several tables on this page, and if we pick table 1, it might pull out one of these other tables that you see located throughout the page. If we pick out table 2, it might go to another one. So this is where it becomes a little bit interesting. To me, I call this the guess and check part of it, because I've yet to figure out a best way to just say, all right, yeah, it's table 1 or table 2 or 4 or whatever. So I'm just going to kind of go through the list. I'm going to start with table 1. Pulls up a table, but that's not the table we're looking for, is it? So we go on to the next number, table 2. Oh, that's a little closer, but that's dealing with the live cattle futures. That's not what we're looking for. That's not that correct table. So we go table 3. And as soon as it loads, bingo. That's the table we're looking for. This table right here matches a table over here. Or sorry, down here. So now that's in a nice, easy to find manner. Well, what if let's go ahead and highlight this real quick. Copy, we're going to paste. And this one is dealing with live cattle. But what if we want to also bring in the corn prices? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here. And I'm going to go back to the main Wall Street Journal commodities page. And now that we're on this main commodities page, originally I went to live cattle right here. Well, I want to maybe look up the corn prices. So we go to corn, and we're going to allow that web page to load. Now that this corn commodities page is loaded, we're going to scroll down to the bottom, and we're going to see that basically this is the same format. And this is the table, only it's dealing with corn prices now, the opening corn prices. So what I'm going to do is, now that I'm on that web page, I'm going to copy this link. Right click on your mouse, or you can press Control C. I'm going to go back to our page that we're working on. And on this web address, I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and delete this table for now. I am going to right click and paste that web address that we just copied over. And I'm going to type in table right here. Now whenever I go to use this import HTML down here, instead of copying the web page in there, I'm going to simply click on this cell because it already has the web page in there. Next, I need to ask if it's going to be a table or a list. Well, I'm going to simply click on this column, this cell, talking about I want it to be a table because it already has table written in there. And then I'm going to ask it to be table number 3. So I'll just simply type in a 3. And it works. So now, on one web page, rather than having to go back and forth like what you just saw earlier in the video, we have all of the opening prices for live cattle, all of the opening prices for corn in one easy to find place. So this import HTML works out really well whenever we're trying to bring in data, especially data that will change just about every day, into one centralized location that we're having to pull off of several different places. So this can be a very, very handy little function if you're looking at data you're pulling off the internet from somewhere, and it's constantly changing every day to where you can get it in one clean, concise manner. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the other side of this import HTML. The second aspect of it is that we can also bring in a list. So what I have here is this website. Actually, let me delete that real quick. And I'm going to copy this website. Just copy the text of it. I'm going to say equals import HTML. The URLs, I'm going to do Control V because or paste. I could have went in there, right clicked and said paste, but the shortcut is Control V as in Victor. And then I'm going to tell it that now I want to bring in a list. I'm not bringing in a table anymore, but I'm bringing in a list. And this list is going to be a list of cattle breeds. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off this formula, begin our guess and check aspect, and then I'll go through and I'll show you what I'm looking for. So on this website is where I'm bringing it across. And maybe you want to bring in data dealing with the list of breeds, for example, of cattle breeds. Or maybe the information you're looking for is not in a table, but it's in a list. So here is the list of all of the breeds on this website that I want to bring across. And as you can see, it does definitely look like a list. So that's what I'm trying to bring across. That's what I'm trying to show up on this one. So if we go back to it, that right there doesn't look like it. So let's do our next guess and check. Our next list, list number 2. Looks a little bit better, but it's definitely not the one we're looking for. So we're going to do list 3. Oh, that one's not it. That has no breed names in it for sure. So let's do list number 4. There's a list of all of our cattle breeds. So now we know using this import HTML that we can bring across a table, or we can bring across a list depending on what we need it for, which one will work best for us. We can do this import HTML a couple of ways. We can do it by typing in or copying and pasting the URL, manually typing in list, and then doing the guess and check. Or we can do it the way that we did it down here with actually cell referencing. We can still cell reference up here as well if we would want to. And that way, if we ever needed to, we could actually change these values and it would automatically change for us. But this is to me, this is a pretty handy little tool. It comes pretty specialized and you may never use it, but if you ever get in a situation, it can be very handy rather than always going to search for a bunch of different data off of different websites.